Missourians may have to vote on abortion access again. The Missouri House of Representatives passed a resolution that would ban abortion if voters approve it. The resolution would be on the 2026 ballot. It would ban abortion except in the case of rape, incest, or a medical emergency. Debate and discussion over the resolution in the House chamber today focused on whether this is acting in the best interest of voters. Voters just spoke on this issue in the form of Amendment 3.
Democracy in action, and I think it's something that we should actually celebrate and not denigrate.
This is not democracy in action. This is authoritarianism in action.
At the same time, the Missouri Senate stayed up all night debating a measure to repeal paid sick leave. Voters also just passed that in November. In this case, the Senate did not come to an agreement.